Let's start this conversation off with fourth and long. That's Josh. He finished 9-5 last year. Eli, can you do me a favor and read me some of the star players on this team, starting with Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow, Amari Hampton, Woody Marks, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, Harold Bannon, Christian McCaffrey, Alex, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, T. Higgins, and Sam LaPorta.
Okay, so those are the star players on fourth and long's team. Okay, if you will recall, and if you do not recall, fourth and long battled it out with yours truly in the championship of the Year 2 League last year, and it is not difficult to see why. You already know what Christian McCaffrey can do, and then when you combine that with the Joe Burrow and T. Higgins stack, it is not difficult to see why this man won 9 games and won our division. Okay, I was very down on Christian McCaffrey last year. I thought the double tendonitis thing was a death knell, and I could not believe that Josh drafted Christian McCaffrey where he did, but it paid off. He took the chance, and it paid off, and I got egg all over my face. Christian McCaffrey balled. Now, and that goes to show you, Joe Burrow missed most of the entire season last year, and this man still went to the playoffs. He still won his division. He still was dominant. This roster is much closer to a championship roster than basically any of the other teams that we've looked at so far. He won the division, he reached the title game, and that matters a lot here. This team, you got to consider it a full-on 2026 win-now contender. It's not really a team that I think needs to get younger everywhere. The 5 players that define this team are Christian McCaffrey, Nico Collins, Joe Burrow, Amari Hampton, Jalen Waddle. Let's start with Christian McCaffrey. He came back with a vengeance in 2025. He played all 17 games. He rushed 311 times for 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, and then he added an absurd 102 receptions for 924 yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. That's 2,126 yards from scrimmage, 102 catches, and 17 total touchdowns. Your favorite wide receiver isn't putting up numbers like that. Do I need to bring up Justin Jefferson and the year he had? For full PPR, that's exactly why Christian McCaffrey can decide championships pretty much by himself. The dynasty concern is obvious. Age, an enormous career workload, but this isn't the roster where you would be racing to sell him. If you're trying to win a trophy, ride Christian McCaffrey until the wheels come off. As much as it pains me to say that. Nico Collins, Texans. You may not feel this way about Nico Collins because of the play of CJ Stroud, but Nico Collins quietly put together his 3rd consecutive 1,000-yard season in 2025. 71 catches, over 1,000 yards, 15.7 yards per reception, making him or keeping him as one of the best deep threats in the league. He had 6 receiving touchdowns, and he had a rushing touchdown. He also had 18 receptions of 20-plus yards. He's not just a possession receiver. He remains one of the better explosive wide receiver ones in football. You agree with that, Eli? 2023, he had 1,297. So let's go ahead and round that up to 13. In 2023, he had almost 1,300 yards. In 2024, he had 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards in only 12 games. 2025, he returns for 1,117. That's a remarkable level of stable dynasty production. Joe Burrow. The annoying part about Joe Burrow's 2025 season wasn't his play, but it was his availability. He only played 8 games, and he still threw for almost 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 68.8% completion rating. He missed most of the season, but when he returned late in the season, he reminded everybody what his ceiling really looks like. He had consecutive games with 4 touchdowns against Buffalo. He had 4 against Miami, and then he followed that up with 305 yards against Arizona. That's essentially a 36 touchdown pace over 17 games. In a one quarterback league, Burrow remains a high-end starter. The problem is that this roster also has Kyler Murray sitting on the bench. That's useful insurance, but it's also potentially tradable value. Amari Hampton, we talked about him earlier. McDaniels, we talked about him earlier. McDaniels says Hampton is probably going to be part of a committee list this year, but last year was interrupted by an injury. But in the 9 games that he did play, he had 124 carries, 545 rushing yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns, 32 receptions, 192 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. The receiving number is the one that jumps out the most in PPR. Over 17 games, his 9-game pace would have been roughly 60 receptions. That's elite. We already saw ceiling games against the Giants where he went for 128 rushing and 37 receiving, and against Denver late in the season, he caught 8 passes. Jalen Waddle's fascinating. I mean, he put up big numbers in Miami with Tyreek Hill, and now he gets the opportunity to lead a wide receiver room with a trade to the Broncos. He finished 2025 with 64 catches, 910 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Then Denver went out and paid a significant price to acquire him from Miami. The Broncos traded a first, a third, a 4th round pick, and receives Waddle and a 4th in return. That's important for fantasy because teams don't spend that kind of capital just to make somebody an afterthought. Jalen Waddle has been brought in to become the alpha and the leader of this wide receiver room. Currently, he is dealing with muscle strains in camp, but Sean Payton says that the absence is expected to be only a couple days. It doesn't sound like a significant concern right now, but it is something to keep an eye on. Denver and Bo Nix could rejuvenate his dynasty value if he ends up becoming one of Bo Nix's featured weapons. Bringing him out of Miami's old target structure, could bring him back to producing strong wide receiver 2 numbers. I'm not ready to consider him a wide receiver 1, even though he would be the alpha and the number 1 target in that offense, but because I do believe that Denver is probably going to remain run heavy, but we'll see. If you want to be featured and have your opinions heard on an episode of the Dynasty Chat, all you got to do is call on. I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me about your favorite players. Tell me how your team is going to dominate the league this year. Let's get into it. And now a word from our sponsors.
Today, being retarded means leading a full life. Retarded people go to work or school just like their neighbors and come back to a real home. A supervised home, right in the neighborhood, where they belong. Being retarded never stopped anyone from being a good neighbor.
Here's the good part about this team, and this goes a lot to Josh's intelligence. And before we even talk about the good part right here, let's talk about Josh's pedigree. I got to give him his props. He won the Year 4 league twice in a row, and he made it to the championship in the Year 2 league, which was a startup league in a startup year. Okay? If anybody knows ball, it's Josh. He's quiet, he's humble, and he drafts like a monster. This roster that he has is really something you can build around it, and it's worth revisiting for a second right here. Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, Amari Hampton, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Harold Fandon Jr., Javonte Williams. And then his bench has T. Higgins, Sam Laporta, Jake Ferguson, Kyler Murray. That's not normal. Harold Fandon could be the hidden superstar on this team, and he's not to be overlooked. Think about this for a second. This man has T. Higgins on his bench. That tells you everything you need to know about the depth of this roster right here. I will be the first to admit it right here. I don't know how I beat this man in the championship last year. I got too hot at the right time, and that's the thing that saved me. I was sweating up until that last catch, which put me over the top. Josh almost won the league without even getting a full year from Joe Burrow. Think about that for a second. This man knows ball. Here's the bad part. Too many good players that aren't getting into the starting lineup. Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, that's trade bait. Bump one of these guys and get some more value in places that you might need them. Way too many tight ends. Fannin, Laporta, Ferguson, and he's carrying Nico, Waddle, Devonta Smith, and T. Higgins. He's got a lot of value in here that can be converted into weak spots to power up weak spots on this team. He's got the depth, but I guess I'm just being picky here, trying to find something to complain about with this roster. Okay, you got something to add, producer Eli? Damn, I'm a hater. My producer says I'm a hater. Hey, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm trying my best here. Okay, let's talk about the ugly. That was the bad. Christian McCaffrey, and I'm going to harp on this again. He's coming off a season with 311 carries, 102 receptions, and 413 offensive touches. That's an enormous workload for a veteran running back. Check the scoreboard. He's hurt in camp today, right now. I'll put it right here for you to see. That's an enormous workload for a veteran running back. He could absolutely smash again in 2026. This is why Amari and Hampton matters so much. The ideal outcome wouldn't be selling CMC now. It's having Hampton emerge as your next franchise running back while CMC helps you make one more championship run. I don't want to give this man too much advice. I'm just telling you the state of things right now. Joe Burrow's availability also deserves mention. We know the man is elite, but since entering the league, Joe Burrow has now had seasons of 10 games, 16 games, 16 games, 10 games, 17 games, and last season, 8 games. That's enough missed time that keeping Kyler Murray isn't completely crazy, but unlike the other rosters we talked about, I would strongly recommend trading the backup quarterback. I'd need a good return. You'd need a good return to move Kyler Murray here.